Day 19. Now who's first? Eliashib, the high priest, and his fellow priest went to work and rebuilt the sheep gate. They dedicated it and set its doors in place. Nehemiah 3:1. I am living so far beyond my income that we may almost be said to be living apart. E. Cummings. Don't get me wrong. There are many leaders, pastors, bosses, coaches, and cheerleaders who are willing to get their proverbial hands dirty. But the old lead by example has its limits. You don't expect me to begin swabbing the deck first, do you? I don't mind helping out, but as you know, I have paid my dues. Now someone else needs to experience the toilet cleaning ministry. The problem is that the way the world and the media see pastors is, at best, not much different from them. And, at worst, greedy for gain, covetous of power, and lustful for pleasure. You may not be concerned about looking different from the rest of the world, but if you are like most people, you have a deep desire to live a life that is significant, a life that is original. In Nehemiah's day, they didn't get together to discuss who was in charge, who was the most important among them, who was dunked, sprinkled, or splashed, or who was the most impressive. They simply heard the God-given vision from an obedient servant who was absolutely unqualified to rebuild a city, let alone be a governor. Nehemiah was a mansion-dwelling, Chardonnay server, not a Gatorade-gulping construction worker. This all changed, though. This was no New Year's resolution to remodel the kitchen. This was the time to say, I will no longer live for comfort as I inch closer and closer to death. I will do what I was created to do. In Nehemiah's day, the first to begin the work were the pastors. They led by example. How do you motivate volunteers who have limited time, resources, and vision? You start with a vision that is from God, and this small point cannot be overlooked. Then prepare your house, family, and finances around this adventure for a massive life change. Then convey the vision and be the first to volunteer. If your people do not follow, either you will be a Noah, and only you and your family will finish, or perhaps the vision is not God's vision. People on this planet are yearning for more than a vision. They wake up every day looking for what may satisfy a deep longing that is being anesthetized by comfort. A longing poorly paved over every day by things that please temporarily. The clothes, the furniture, the cars, the electronics, the food, the holiday, the fling, and the laughs. But what if the yearning could be scratched and satisfied? Add one more layer to it. What if you held the secret? Would you get high on your own supply? Absolutely. That is what Nehemiah, his pastors, and his people did, and the whole world watched in wonder. Some watched in anger and horror. You know what time it is? Tomorrow when you wake up, decide to live your life intentionally and with singular passion. Live a life that is completely focused on managing money God's way. 2 events have been tattooed in my memory, and all involve pastors who swam upstream from the current of cynicism. The first was the pastor of International Bible Baptist Church, where I was speaking one Saturday. During the event, there was an older-looking gentleman taking out garbage, setting up chairs, and cleaning up spills in the back of the large auditorium. He looked like the cleaning guy. He was sporting jeans and an old t-shirt, and he introduced himself as the pastor of this church of over 1,000 members. I said, "You are the head cheese, the top dog? What are you doing cleaning up the garbage?" He said, "I'm just pitching in, doing what needs to be done to make this day the best it can be." I was blown away. The senior pastor was getting his hands dirty without regard for what it looked like to a passerby. The second event that will be forever etched in my heart involved a Pentecostal Church of God in Christ pastor, Bishop Randy Hightower, of West Palm Beach, Florida. It was another event where I was speaking that included a meal. Food and caffeine are the usual fare when I speak. It helps keep people awake. I noticed the pastor slipping out a bit early, but thought nothing of it. He probably had important things to do. He did. During a break, I went to a solitary place looking for the green room and stumbled upon the kitchen. I peeked through the door and saw a man bent over several commercial-sized pots on a hot stove, sweating like an Iron Chef, not racing against the clock, but competing against discomfort while laboring in love. I saw potatoes being chopped, water boiling, and meat cooking, all without the help of a sous chef. I wondered if this guy was a volunteer or a hired gun brought in to serve 100+ meals. I couldn't just stare, so I said hello. He turned and said, "You were doing a great job, and I have been praying for you. This is exactly what my people need." I said, "Pastor, is that you?" Behind the steam and the sweat, I saw a senior pastor who knew how to capture the hearts of his people and lead by great example. Maybe you're next. What if, like Nehemiah, God has a life-changing plan for your company, your church, your family, or your life? Solomon jotted this truth about his God. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and your plans will succeed. Start now on a plan to live below your means, conquer and avoid debt, save regularly, and give radically. A spending plan is the way to accomplish these lifelong fundamentals. If your plan is to indulge yourself with things that will end up being painful, don't expect Solomon's words to be your trump card to cajole God. In the words of Jesus' brother James, "When you ask, you do not receive, because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures." Live in obedience and honor the King, and He will make getting out of debt, living below your means, saving and investing in the kingdom pleasurable.